oliviertij. So to kind of explain to you, let's I'm going to make a quad ball. Oopsie. This quad ball and pop it down at F4, make it that big. So I'm going to, I have no idea what I'm making. I'm just doing this quickly because I'm quite deep into another project, so I don't want to detract from it too much. But since you asked, I figure I at least owe you a little bit of help on that. So let's say we've made this object, whatever it is, and we've got some fine detail we want to apply in it. So don't get any mistakes. I do hardly any modeling in 3D Coat. I do most of it in T-splines through here. Your T-splines needs to be obviously in your normal mode, in your compliant mode, whatever you want to call it, so that you can project a curve onto it for this next part. So I'm just going to go quickly to an interp curve. I'm going to hold down Alt so that I don't so let's say we're doing this thing, whatever it is. Alright, and I'm going to project that curve onto this T-spline, alright? Let's shade that quickly. Put that in ghosted so I can dump the curve that's in the middle there. Alright, so you can grab those two curves and we can TS pipe them too. I suppose we could have just ordinary piped them. Yeah, let's just ordinary pipe them just for shits and giggles. Cell curve, and let's pipe them. So I don't know, where is my size? Where is my radius coming up from? My radius 0.3. Is that big enough? Yeah, okay, so that's enough, right? So we've got these two kind of pipes happening over there, and then we've got a bit of geometry we want out over here. So I'm going to get a box. I'm going to create a box in Rhino. Whoopsie. Create a box here. Like I said, don't judge me on what I'm drawing, because this is just an example for you, just so you can understand kind of how and why I use 3D Coat and when I use it. All right. So we have this object, and we'd like to apply a stamp to the middle of it that we've got ready in 3D Coat. So there's a couple of ways for you to export this now. If you drag all of this and you go export, I don't know if it's going to turn that into a Rhino surface or into a box mode surface or not. So I'm just going to go export, and let's test it while I got it. Export desktop, OBJ. You can use STL or OBJ. I don't think it really matters one way or the other. I'm going to call it test for oliviertij. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right or not. Unmodified. That's fine. I think pretty much that's all right. I haven't done it on this machine yet. I'll leave that on 2, I'll leave that on 0, and I'll leave that on 2. Switch that off, switch that on, and go OK. Now it'll be interesting to see in 3D Coat when I fire that up whether the T-spline is going to be box mode or not. So when you're in 3D Coat, you want to be sure you're in your voxel mode. File, import object, import mesh for voxelizing. If you want them all on different layers, alright, so where will we test for oliviertij? Okay, so what we want to do with this is we're wanting to just zoom it in, have a look at it. And what you need to know about when you bring in this in, alright, is that you're looking at a mesh now, but when you import it, what's going to happen is it's going to be filled with little grains of sand. Let's call them blocks of Lego, okay? And imagine in your mind's eye you have a drinking glass in front of you, and you have standard blocks of Lego, say 3x2 blocks of Lego, which represent the voxels, and you can fit how many into a drinking glass? Maybe 50. And if you look through the side of the drinking glass, you're going to have quite a rough surface made up out of Lego blocks. Okay, whereas if you compare the drinking glass to a swimming pool, but use the same size block of Lego, you're going to fit millions of blocks of Lego in there, but you're going to have a much closer surface finish with those millions of blocks of Lego. So what you need to do is, if you have a look in this area that is estimated poly count, try and make your piece bigger until that's at about 3, 4, 5 million polys. All that's going to depend on your RAM. Okay, there's not actual polys, it's estimated if it had to draw a mesh around that what they're going to be. All right, so you need to scale that up. I don't know, let's try, I find for jewelry about 3000, you see, gives you a good size. Okay, if you want to keep it on different layers, the trick is to go merge without voxelizing and go apply. Go yes. What you're clicking yes to over here is that you want this to export at the same size. All right, I'm going to just click any other tool. It's gone off the screen there because our world center was a little bit off. If you click on all, that's already in there. All right, so this over here now is still a mesh. All right, it hasn't been voxelized yet, and if you look in your layer menu down here, you can see all the separate objects. So you can actually turn them on and off as required. Okay, you can voxelize these objects quite simply by required poly count, I don't know, 100,000. It works easier if you're just going to import it as a, so that's now been voxelized. You can see the corner has got a slight radius. Let's do the same with that. I don't know, let's make it 100,000. Remember that your experience of limitations based on what you know about Rhino don't actually apply when it comes to 3D code. It's a true 64-bit mesh modeler or voxel modeler, so you don't have the same limitations that Rhino has. All right. Of course, if you had just brought this in as one piece, it would have automatically merged it. So if you want to keep sharp detail between two layers, like a very hard corner inside there, you would keep them as separate layers, because also then obviously it allows you then to visualize this in different sort of, let me just go here, view, Windows, reset all pages. Okay, so it will allow you to then hide this, pick up this layer and apply that sort of shading to it, whatever it is. And then you can pick another layer, you can pick that one, and you can apply a different shade to that stone, whatever it is. But where this starts getting more and more fun is when you blend them together and you manage to radius everything on your screen. All right, so to do that, you go to your top guy there and you go merge all, merge subtree. Okay, so what that's going to do, that's going to merge everything. So you can see what you got now is you've got an automatic tiny little radius in there. The whole thing's been merged, and you're at about 2 million polys, right? So at this point in the game, I just go down here and I go smooth all. Watch what happens to your surface. Smooth all, smooth all, smooth all. You'll notice that your poly count's actually getting lower, but your surface quality is getting better. All right. So this is quite unique to voxels. Try to do that with a mesh, and you end up with just a mess on your hands, because what it tries to do is average the distances between the vertexes. So you've now ended up with this thing that's beautifully blended together, and you're able to start working with the voxel tools on it. All right, you can convert it back to a surface to mesh by just clicking on the V and convert it back there. And then you have surface tools, and you have mesh tools, and you have voxel tools. So you can work with them all in one sort of environment. What I might show you is I'm going to use the carve tool, and I've downloaded some of these things off the web. I'm going to just zoom that up a little bit, and it allows you to put a stamp of a height field directly onto your object. All right, so then you can go play on the back. I don't know, let's put whatever that is. No, that doesn't look very nice. Was that the same I put on the front? No, it's the same I put on the front. Let's find something else. So there's my girl. Sorry, I'm working with a small screen space here. And you can right click your mouse and make it bigger or smaller or whatever it is you want to do. And you can pop her down over there. And so this is where it starts becoming truly powerful, is you can start applying different tools to it. Okay. Anyway, I hope that answers some of your questions. As for the exporting back to Rhino, you can now just grab this guy, right click, go export this object, and depending on your Rhino and how much RAM you've got, I'm going to select test for oliviertij and go save, and yes. Actually, we're at 1.8. I'm going to show you what happens when you resample internally to, you can go down here and you can resample it internally. Let's go down to 1,000,000 polys. If you're on a smaller machine and your Rhino struggles a little bit, or you're still in Rhino 32, about 1,000,000 polys is roundabout where you're going to have problems. Now notice that automatically as you go down to 1,000,000 polys, you get another side effect, which is not a bad side effect. Everything smooths again. Alright, I'm going to run one smooth all, and you haven't lost too much detail. If you want to go in and just blend in some stuff a little bit more, let's make that tool a bit bigger there. So I don't want to smooth the whole thing. What I'm doing now is I'm just smoothing just that a little bit. Alright. So anyway, now that we're down to 1,000,000 polys, we can export this again. We can go, alright, let's export this guy. Export objects, oliviertij, where are we? Test for oliviertij. Now you're at a 70 meg OBJ. Alright, so let's keep that at the full 1,000,000. And let's go back into here, and I'm going to just move this layer over. And I'm going to go import desktop. Okay, give my Rhino a second to load that. I'm running 64-bit Rhino here, but I'm running it on my home PC, which is lacking compared to my... I'm going to rotate that around F4. This has got something to do with setting your OBJ Y to Z or something like that, whatever it is. So you'll notice that it comes back pretty much in the same place that it left. Alright. And your object is in Rhino, and you can now continue working with it. Now, subject of another video is retopolizing this mesh. You can retopo this, but that's a whole nother video. In the retopo menu, you would highlight these two areas as high mesh areas, that area and that area, and the rest of it you just leave on whatever the defaults are. And this is at the moment is a 70 meg OBJ. I reckon you could bring it back in as maybe a 4 meg OBJ, which makes it a lot more simple to use. Okay. Hope that was helpful, matey. Catch you later. Cheers, Chris.